There's something interesting that begins to happen the moment a person allows themselves to soften, even just a little, because the mind has this natural tendency to move toward comfort and clarity the moment it's given the slightest permission. And wouldn't you agree there's something really pleasant about noticing that shift already beginning as you're listening? You can allow each word to feel like it lands gently, almost like little warm drops of sunlight collecting on your skin, because the sooner you let yourself settle into this moment, the sooner your whole body and mind begin to respond with that lighter, happier feeling that's been wanting to rise for a while now. And you don't have to force any of that. You might simply let it happen the same way a flower opens without being told how. You can feel better because you're already beginning to imagine feeling better, and imagination always leads to emotion, doesn't it? It reminds me of a story about a woman who used to take long walks through her town every morning. She said it wasn't the scenery that lifted her mood, it was the tiny unnoticed things. How the air had a different smell after rain. How a single leaf spun lazily in the breeze. How the sunlight reflected off a window like a soft wink. She once told me that cheerfulness wasn't something she hunted for. It was something she discovered in the cracks of her day when she wasn't even trying. And as you listen now, you might realize how your mind is already becoming more curious about what little joys are unfolding inside you, even before you fully recognize them. Have you realized yet how your breath naturally deepens when something inside you starts to relax? Before you even think about feeling cheerful, the body already makes micro adjustments, loosening the jaw, softening around the eyes, dropping the shoulders just a little, and after you notice those tiny shifts, you'll realize they are signs that something warm and pleasant is growing beneath the surface. Even though the day may have given you challenges, your mind has always known how to shift your emotional weather, and it's doing that right now, quietly, without effort. You may not be aware of how quickly your unconscious mind can brighten the entire tone of your day yet, and that's perfectly fine because you already know it's happening, right? Have you ever seen a snow globe right after it's shaken? All the little flakes swirl around, chaotic for a moment, but then slowly, gracefully, everything drifts downward and the scene becomes peaceful again. Imagine your thoughts doing that right now. Any tension or heaviness simply begins to fall away, one soft, drifting flake at a time, until what's left is clarity and that gentle upward feeling that comes from being centered. Now, as you imagine that, something inside you begins to respond, doesn't it? Perhaps you might feel a pleasant warmth building somewhere in your chest or stomach, or maybe a tiny lift at the corners of your mouth. Some people even feel a quiet sense of hope stretching through them like a morning yawn. And you don't have to make any of that happen. You can simply allow it to unfold. Speaking of unfolding, that reminds me of another story. There was a teacher who kept a plant on her windowsill, a plant everyone insisted was dying because it hadn't bloomed for years. She never threw it away because she said some things bloom only when they're ready. Then one Monday morning, she walked into her classroom to see a small pink blossom opening on that plant, and she smiled because she knew the bloom had been building silently the whole time. And as you think about that plant, you might feel something inside you blooming too, a small shift that becomes bigger the more attention you allow it. I wonder which part of you is blooming right now, even if you haven't fully recognized it yet. Let me ask you this. What would happen if you allowed your entire emotional state to just brighten by a few degrees? Not dramatically, not suddenly, just enough to feel like you're stepping into a warm room from the cold. Now, as you imagine that, your mind begins rewiring itself, choosing new pathways, opening new emotional doors. You don't have to tell yourself to feel lighter, because your unconscious mind already knows how to take you there. And the more you drift into this warmth, the more natural it feels, like coming home to yourself. It's funny how joy behaves. Sometimes it rushes in like a gust of wind, and other times it sneaks in like a soft hum in the background, slowly becoming louder until you find yourself smiling without knowing when it started. You might wonder how quickly your mood can rise when you simply decide to let it. Before you even finish that thought, your body is already cooperating, releasing tiny bursts of comfort, safety, ease, and cheer. After you finish listening, you'll notice the rest of your day feels different, more open, more inviting, like it's quietly promising you little moments of delight. And even though you may not be actively searching for those moments, you'll stumble into them anyway. That reminds me of the man with the jar of marbles. He kept a jar on his desk, and every time something made him smile or feel grateful, he'd drop a marble in. What surprised him wasn't the big moments, but how often he found himself putting marbles in for small things. A warm cup of coffee, a funny thought, the way his dog snored, a stranger holding the door. One day he realized the jar filled faster when he simply decided to pay attention to the good. And now your mind might naturally begin noticing those small things too. Perhaps the feeling of your body relaxing, the ease of your breath, the calm in your chest, the gentle brightness gathering behind your eyes, all tiny marbles dropping into your jar, one after another. And you might be wondering how this cheerful feeling will show up for you later. Maybe you'll suddenly laugh at something small or feel a sudden wave of gratitude for no reason at all. Maybe the world will look a bit softer, a bit warmer, the way everything glows right before sunset. Isn't it interesting how this shift continues long after the words end? Something tells me you're the kind of person who has a natural ability to turn any moment into something meaningful, and your unconscious mind already knows exactly how to guide you into the mood that feels best for you. People who allow themselves to feel good often discover that happiness is not an event but a direction, and you're already moving in that direction now. You can let yourself appreciate the simplest things today, because even the smallest appreciation leads to a brighter mind. You might feel a pleasant tingling of curiosity about how good the rest of your day can become. I know you're wondering how deeply this cheerful feeling can root itself in you, and your unconscious mind is answering that question in the background right now, guiding you toward more light, more ease, more joy, more laughter. Imagine for a moment that inside you there is a tiny lantern that's been waiting to glow brighter. And as you picture that lantern, it warms, expands, radiates, sending soft golden light through every part of you. Now imagine that light spreading beyond you, influencing how you notice things, how you respond, how you breathe and move, making everything feel smoother, softer, more enjoyable. You may not have realized how ready your mind was to feel good, but now you can feel it happening, spreading quietly, consistently, naturally. Let's shift gears for a moment and imagine a different story. Picture a small boat on a calm lake. Even if the water had been choppy earlier, eventually the ripples settle, the boat steadies, and everything becomes glassy and still. Now imagine your mind as that lake. Any ripples from earlier today are smoothing out, settling down, leaving only clarity. And when the water becomes still, it reflects light more beautifully. You can reflect light more beautifully too, and right now you are. You might start feeling inspired, energized, upshifted in a gentle way. You may find that everything seems easier to handle, as if the world is cooperating with you a bit more than usual. And later today, when you catch yourself smiling or laughing or feeling unexpectedly uplifted, you'll remember that this moment planted that seed. Your unconscious mind already knows how to nurture it. And perhaps the most comforting part is knowing that there is absolutely no limit to how good you can feel. Right now, you can allow yourself to feel better than you felt all week. You can choose happiness simply because it feels good to choose it. You can let joy rise inside you because your body remembers how. And the more you allow that, the easier everything becomes. You're probably noticing that your breathing is smoother, aren't you? You may find that your thoughts feel lighter and your emotions feel brighter, and that's perfectly fine. It's possible that you've already shifted into a happier, more cheerful, more optimistic version of yourself. You don't have to do anything else. You can simply let your mind continue to brighten while you enjoy the rest of your day, knowing you have created this feeling, and you can create it again anytime you want. And sometime later, perhaps tonight or tomorrow, you'll feel a warm wave of happiness and you'll pause, wondering where it came from. And a part of you will remember it began right here with the simple choice to let yourself feel good. You've already begun the process, and it continues now and later and throughout the rest of your day.